Trump is good. Vote for Trump. There's a vast difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. That's the message we're going to hear from Styx, Hex, and Hammer. Let's just go through this.
All right, everyone. Now I've got a mild suggestion for everyone out there. There are some of you that are reluctant to support Donald Trump. He's not a purist on guns. We'll cover the Rittenhouse story on the side, by the way. He's not a purist on free expression. He's not a purist on the 10th Amendment. He's not a purist on many, many things. Can I please ask a question? What the fucking hell do you want more from him? What more could he possibly pledge to make you vote for him? Look at the alternative. No, first and foremost, let's look at the alternative. Okay, here's the situation. Trump is not a gun purist. He passed a bump stock ban, got shot down by the courts, pun intended. And you know, he's
You know, that's not a light thing. A bump stock ban is not a light thing, especially when people are like, hey, before this news even broke, I don't even know what a bump stock ban is. I don't know what a bump stock is. I don't know what it's used for. I don't own one. It doesn't affect me. It does affect your fellow Americans. When you issue a ban, you are willing to criminalize tens of millions of innocent Americans who happen to own that inanimate object. Why this doesn't bother Styx, Hex, and Hammer, I don't know. It seems pretty clear that that is an aggressive attempt to initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. Now, the courts came through with something that was pro Second Amendment. It's like, hey, this ain't right. This is unconstitutional. But that Trump attempted to do something unconstitutional and something that would criminalize Americans who haven't done anything wrong with an inanimate object is no different than Kamala Harris wanting to institute an assault weapons ban. That's an inanimate object ban too. That's criminalizing people who have inanimate objects who have done nothing wrong, just like Trump was willing to do. There's no difference between that. And he's not going to talk about this, but what about red flag laws, Styx? Both Kamala and Trump want red flag laws. Kamala, who once was the top cop because she was, the attorney general for the biggest state in the United States and called herself a top cop. On the other side of it, Donald Trump wants an all-out police state by granting a federal blanket of qualified immunity, which cops already have qualified immunity. Sheriff's Department deputies and police officers have qualified immunity already. In some states, they don't. But he wants a blanket qualified immunity over all law enforcement officers, which would include top cops. This is a blanket of immunity over cops that everybody knows is bad as well. Think about Philip Brailsford, who shot and murdered Daniel Shaver in that hallway in that La Quinta Inn in Mesa, Arizona. Think about the beating of Tyree Nichols in Memphis. Those people have a measure of qualified immunity. Amber Geiger, even though she went to jail, she got a lesser sentence than you and I would have done if we did the same thing, going into Botham Jean's home and killing him while he's watching TV sitting on his sofa. So I don't understand, saying somebody is not a purist is kind of weird to me. It's like, are they for freedom or against freedom? Because doing a bump stock ban is against freedom. Doing an AR-15, AK-47 high-capacity magazine ban and instituting background checks is anti-freedom. So you got anti-freedom Trump and you got anti-freedom Kamala Harris. Styx, what are you talking about? And why didn't you mention red flag laws? That's pretty big. Anonymously, you can be viewed as somebody who needs a visit from the SWAT team at 3 o'clock in the morning to take your guns and maybe cart you off to a mental institution because somebody anonymously called and said, hey, I think he's a danger to himself and to others. That's anti-constitutional. That's anti-freedom, Styx. So you got anti-freedom Trump and anti-freedom Kamala.
Not really a FUD, but he's like a hybrid. He's like the Ted Cruz of guns. He's between a FUD and a purist on the issue. So he's not a purist on guns.
Which means he's a tyrant. If you're not all the way for freedom. Hey, you want to prove to me that you're for freedom? Then strike down the National Firearms Act of 1934. Decriminalize all guns. How about that? But he's not going to do it. Why? Because he's anti-Second Amendment. You're either pro Second Amendment, which is shall not be infringed, or you're shall be infringed, which is anti-Second Amendment. Pick one because you can't pick both.
But the alternative is someone who wants to literally confiscate your weapons and has openly proclaimed that she wants to do so. That's point number one.
Point number one, debunked. Donald Trump is anti-Second Amendment. Kamala Harris is anti-Second Amendment. Donald Trump is pro-criminalizing innocent Americans. Kamala Harris is pro-criminalizing innocent Americans.
Free expression. Is Donald Trump a purist on the First Amendment? No. No, it was kind of sort of a joke, but it still was in poor humor. Called for a ban on flag burning and stuff like that.
You know how many times he said that? He means that. He's not joking about it. He believes you should go to jail for 12 months if you burn a flag. Prove to me he doesn't mean that, because he said it multiple times. Why, Sticks, are you giving slack to a tyrant? Why? What's in it for you?
The alternative is but at the same time, he wants to reform Section 230 and pass an Internet Bill of Rights. What's the alternative? A person who thinks that if you in any way criticize somebody who happens to be of a lower class or something like that, supposedly that's what the Democrats cast off people with more melanin in their skin as, then all of a sudden you become a bigot. You're basically a Nazi or something like that. 10th Amendment. Donald Trump punted abortion back to the states.
Wait a minute. Before we leave the First Amendment, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are decidedly anti-First Amendment. They're anti-freedom of speech. They're anti-freedom of the press. Remember what Donald Trump did on college campuses with the anti-Semite thing? If you are going to say that you can't say certain things about this group of people, you are censoring, which means you are anti-free speech. Trump is anti-free speech. Kamala Harris is anti-free speech. Don't give these tyrants slack. The welfare of the people will always be the battle cry of tyrants.
He's said the same thing basically about marijuana, etc., etc. Kamala Harris is the one that put people in prison for having marijuana. These two things are not the same.
Okay. You know what he's not going to mention here? First of all, Donald Trump is pro-war on drugs. Kamala Harris is pro-war on drugs. If you don't lift the war on drugs, you're for the war on drugs. If you're for civil asset forfeiture, and Trump is absolutely for civil asset forfeiture, just like Kamala Harris is for civil asset forfeiture, you got two peas in a pod on that too. So you got two peas in a pod on guns. You got two peas in a pod on First Amendment. You got two peas in a pod on the war on drugs, which isn't a war on drugs. It's a war on people. Where's the difference? Where's the substantive difference again? And we ain't even started yet. This isn't even the tip of the iceberg. But I see these smart people, these intelligent people making all these weak arguments. I mean, I've seen this guy call people soy boys. Well, what do you call it when you step up to the plate and you don't call a spade and go, hey, red flag laws, that's anti-Second Amendment. Bump stock bans, that's anti-Second Amendment. What are you doing trying to criminalize innocent Americans? You're being evil. That's far from, oh, he's not a purist. He's being evil. Kamala Harris is being evil. Joe Biden is evil. These are all narcissistic psychopaths. Trump is one of them. He's working for the same constituency.
When I see people saying, well, they're basically the same, there's no reason to vote, and Kamala will win anyway, by the way. There's a little bit of blackpilling campaign going on right now, and most of it's paid for, by the way. I say, are you fucking retarded? No. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are at opposite ends of the spectrum on a number of issues.
That is such a lie. When Kamala Harris was prosecutor, she turned the other way with all the crimes coming out of Steve Mnuchin's bank and all the foreclosures and all the people that he gypped out of money, all these homeowners. And Kamala Harris gave Steve Mnuchin so much slack and turned, it's okay, Steve, do whatever you want to. I'm not going to prosecute you. Don't worry. And then he turns around in 2016 and contributes to her campaign. Come to find out, Steve Mnuchin becomes the Treasury Secretary under Trump. They're working for this. They're working with the same people. They're giving the same people a wink and a nod. They're the same. Their policies are they're designed to look different for the simpletons, but essentially when you pull back the minutia and take away the contrived complexity, they are the same. They're working for the same money masters. And that's what it's all about.
Is there another end of the spectrum that would be even better? Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Kyle Rittenhouse, who, by the way, has redeemed himself and apologized. Yes, you are correct. Ron Paul would be better on guns, although I don't agree with returning to the gold standard for various economic reasons that I can explain in a separate video.
Bottom line is we need sound money and we need constraint on the economic level. You cannot have Zio international bankers issuing and valuing your currency because they have in the palm of their hand your time, the product of your time and your labor. There has to be a sound money system that cannot be tampered with.
That being said, the choice is, at this point, a dichotomy. Americans have been ingrained to have a football player mentality and think of Team A and Team B.
This is what you're pushing, Sticks. You're pushing Team A Trump or Team B Kamala, and it can't be Kamala. It's got to be Trump. This is exactly what you're pushing. You're being a propagandist for the two-party thing that you call a uniparty. It's truly a uniparty system. It looks like it's two parties, but that's a false dichotomy. It's a false choice. It's an illusion of choice. How can you know it and then pretend not to know it at the same time? And then peddle the very thing that you say you're against. It's very confusing.
They can't really get beyond that. While it would be nice to have a third party rise up with more puristic intent towards our Constitution, I would support it, I would donate to it, and I'd have no problem with it. I'd fucking join it. We don't have that right now. The
problem is, whether you have Party A, Team Elephant, or Team Donkey, and then a third team, say Team Lion, they're all predicated on force, a monopoly on force and violence and brutality and absolute fraud. The voting process and the campaigns are demoralization campaigns. They're actually saying, hey, we're going to formulate a strategy to get the black vote and the housewife vote and the Latino vote. They're actually explaining to you that before they board the vessel and launch out to the ocean, here's the bait that I'm going to use for this school of fish, and here's the bait that I'm going to use for this school of fish, and then I'm going to drop my line and I'm going to set the hook and I'm going to reel them in. They tell you that, and this is what Sticks is doing. He's saying, hey, look, go for the Trump bait, don't go for the Kamala bait. And until we get out of this left versus right paradigm lie nonsense, we can't proceed because, like I said, the voting process is demoralizing. It's dehumanizing. It's dividing. And when they divide us, demoralize us, and dehumanize us, they've conquered us. This is conquered terminology.
Average person, it's the Republican versus the Democrat. When you have Trump offering you an end to the income tax, an end to taxes on Social Security, Kyle Rittenhouse, a purist on the issue of guns for obvious reasons, saying he's endorsing because he was contacted by multiple members of Trump's staff and saying, oh, actually, I think he will defend gun rights. A president who wants to lower your taxes.
Oh, he's promising. Oh, what do you know? A politician who's promising to lower taxes, promising to get rid of the income tax, promising us not to pay any taxes on Social Security. Oh, look, he's promising us. Because Trump's promising you that, you got to go for him because politicians also always tell the truth. They always fulfill their promises, don't they? How can Sticks and other smart people be this simple-minded? I just trust. I believe. I'm in the cult of personality.
A president who wants to abolish some taxes entirely. A president who wants to actually go toe-to-toe with China, but not start wars and do it economically. What more do you goddamn want? You've got a legally persecuted man who was almost brained in the head. He was almost shot. With an AR-style weapon, of course.
Reportedly, like, this guy and many others like him, rightly so, say don't believe mainstream media. Now that mainstream media is telling you, oh, this is what happened to Trump. Oh, we're going to believe that part of mainstream media? We're going to believe Trump, that what he says went down. That's how it went down. It's laughable. It's mockable.
And we're not exactly sure what model, I think, still. But he didn't call for gun control now, did he? Can you imagine if it was a Democratic candidate? They'd be howling about it every single goddamn fucking day. How much more puristic can he possibly get for a candidate of a mainline party? It'd be impossible.
But you know what? I'd rather have that. I'd rather have somebody come out and go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take your guns. I'd rather have that than somebody go, hey, I'm not going to take your guns, but then sit across the table from Mike Pence and go, I don't know, Mike. I think I'll take the guns first, due process second. The whole time Diane Frankenstein is sitting next to him going, did you hear that? Oh my God, looks like we're going to get what we want. And then he institutes red flags and bump stock bans. Does the exact opposite of what he says he is. No, I'm pro Second Amendment. Totally. No, we're going to issue red flag laws, extreme risk protection orders. Yeah, that sounds good. So basically, Sticks, Hacks, and Hammer is saying, hey, listen to the liar, believe the liar. He's going to come through for you this time.
On free speech,
I say bring it on. Hey, if you're going to be a tyrant, just be a tyrant to my face. That way everybody can go, oh, we are back in Great Britain. Time for the revolution to start again. Where's that Tea Party? Where's my Tea Party hat?
What more do you want but an attempt to pass an Internet Bill of Rights and to reform 230? And by the way, 10 out of 10, his very first campaign video said exactly what I've been saying for years. All you got to do is reform 230. So you have to be either a publisher or a platform. You can either have legal protection or you can editorialize. You can't do both. Hey, what more could I want?
How about the government just stay out of it altogether? The government has no business controlling any aspect of the internet. And for us to say that government has business to do that, then they have to have the resources to do that. And now what you're promoting is mass theft and extortion so they can have the resources to do the thing that you want them to do. Never ask. Government is not the solution to the problem. Government is now, always has been, and always will be the problem.
What more can I want out of Trump? Extend the self-employment tax offset? Well, yeah, that benefits me perfectly. Continue keeping the brackets lowered? It's only marginal, but he's promising to double down on it. What more do you want?
Promising.
What more can this man possibly suffer? And what more can he possibly promise? And what more can he possibly do to get people to fucking vote for him?
Maybe he should just quit being a, I don't know, Zionist bootlicker. How about that? Let's just start there. How about stop bowing down to Israel? Stop being the best friend to Israel. Stop making decisions for Israel. Stop sending military hardware and boatloads of money to Israel. How about that? Just for starters. And then let's get rid of the red flag laws. How about the IRS? Let's do something about the Federal Reserve.
Is he perfect? No. He's not Jesus Christ. He's not the reincarnation of Theodore Roosevelt or anything like that. But he was a good president in his first term. And I think he'll be a good president in his second term. Hell, I think his second term would be better than his first.
He was a good president in his first term. Take a look at this chart right here. This is the money printing that happened with presidents from 2001 through 2021. Look at the bar with Trump. Even the bar before the big bar, the big Convid 1984 by George Orwell bar. Look at this. He was already getting up there. Oh yeah, let's ramp up the money making machine. Oh why? Hey, I'm against quantitative tightening, and now I'm for quantitative easing, which is money printing. Yeah, tell me about inflation again, because this bar right here, there's always a lag. See, it takes time for fresh new money to make itself through the system, and then once it gets into the system and starts diluting the money supply, that's when the value of the dollar is directly attacked, and that usually takes about 2 years for it to work itself through the system. So by the time Trump left after this bar right here, of course we're going to have inflation. Of course. There's this 2-year uptake lag before it shows up as inflation. And what is inflation? It's a hidden tax. And how does it happen? Because the Federal Reserve, who has dangling from their bankster strings presidential puppets who create policies that create this kind of economic terror. Economic terror. That's what this is economic terrorism wrought by the pens of presidents. Thank you, Donald Trump. Remember, 6.2 trillion, never signed anything with the T on it before. And yet you have Sticks, Hex, and Hammer just going to bat for the guy who did the same thing and even worse than Obama.
Having overcome his adversaries and not having to run for re-election because he fucking can't, he's going to become even more unhinged. He's going to fuck the system even harder. He can't run for re-election, so he no longer has to give a damn. Now, does he? I think a second term of Trump is exactly what this country needs right now. I got mail from the Trump campaign earlier.
So many people are saying that on the right. This country needs Donald Trump. When you say this country needs not Donald Trump, you're saying this country needs AIPAC. When you're saying this country needs Kamala Harris, you're saying this country needs AIPAC. When you're saying this country needs a good Congress and a good Senate, you're saying this country needs AIPAC because that's who owns presidents on both sides. That's who owns them. They even go to the wall and put that funny little hat on and do that little religious ritual. All of them do it.
I got a phone call the other day, and I've donated to the Trump campaign. I've donated $100 on 2 occasions, and I plan to do it a third time before the election. And the dude calls up, he's like, oh, from Trump for America. And I'm like, yeah, don't worry, dude, I've got your back. You don't need to worry. I probably should have donated then because I know what those callers have to do. They have like a quota and stuff because I literally had to do that when I was at UVM. I was a starving college.
And then he tells a story. I want to get back on track here.
Joe Biden, we've just suffered through years and get her shit straight. She doesn't even know what she's saying. News about children dying in a drone strike. She's a psycho. She wants to do it all over again and then drop acid. But yeah, what the hell more do you want from Donald Trump? To the holdouts out there, take a look at what Kamala has said and done. The fact that she's a psycho, she wants to literally confiscate guns, which would necessitate killing millions of people, by the way, when they resist.
By the way, that's what red flags are. That's gun confiscation against your will without your consent.
Versus Donald Trump. It's night and goddamn fucking day. Trump is sane. His opponent is a goddamn psychopath. Trump, to my knowledge...
Trump's not a psychopath. Trump's not a narcissistic psychopath who was born with a golden spoon in his mouth and a golden toilet under his butt. You've got to be frickin' kidding me. Was Kamala Harris bailed out by Rothschilds Inc. back in the 1990s when her casino, Taj Mahal, got underwater in Atlantic City? No, that was Donald Trump. And you know you would flip your lids if Rothschilds Inc. bailed out Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Obama, or Biden, or Kamala Harris. But why aren't you flipping your lid, Hex, that Donald Trump was bailed out by Rothschilds Inc.? And then the employee from Rothschilds Inc. who bailed him out 25 years later becomes the Commerce Secretary. His name is Wilbur Ross, who also happens to be a Zio. God, I don't, this is crazy to me. This is off the charts crazy.
Has never laughed when confronted with news about children dying in a drone strike. Kamala has done this on 3 or 4 occasions. Donald Trump is... So
because Kamala laughed and Donald Trump didn't, but probably laughs behind the scenes, and I'm going to show you some numbers on that too, we're going to trust the non-laugher and distrust the laugher. That's some solid rational criteria you got going on there.
Is coherent. Kamala Harris is not going to be able to conduct diplomacy because she can't fucking get her shit straight. She doesn't even know what she's saying half of the time.
That's pretty subjective.
She's like Jen Psaki on steroids mixed with the half dementia of Joe Biden without even the benefit of being able to blame the dementia.
You can really say the same thing about Donald Trump, but this is all subjective.
They are not the same.
They're absolutely the same. Same Israel stance, same gun stance on red flag laws, same civil asset forfeiture stance. These are all the same. These are all the same. same Zio International banking stance, same flood the market with cheap currency stance.
This is not an election to sit it out and say, well, both of the candidates suck. No.
This is not an election to stand on principle and morals and go, no, it's not right to be anti-Second Amendment. It's not right to be for civil asset forfeiture. You're talking about a police state here. It's not right. It's not the time to stand on what's right, is what you're saying, Hex. Sticks, sorry.
No. One of the candidates is at least acceptable, and I would say, honestly, good. That's Trump. And the other one is worse than Joe Biden. We've just suffered through years of so far the worst presidency that we've seen in modern times.
Joe Biden's a Zionist. Donald Trump is a Zionist. Kamala Harris, Zionist.
Don't need another 4 years of that. You will collapse the goddamn economy. There will probably be
Oh, like Trump did with the stimulus. Kind of like that. Closing down business, shutting things down, taking credit for it, giving trillions to Big Pharma to the point where Pfizer made $100 billion profit in that first year. Calling himself the father of the VAXX. Operation Warp Speed. Really screwing Americans. There's a vast difference between them. Serious? You can say that with a straight face?
Multiple wars that are started. And again, Trump's a Republican. One last point.
Listen to this.
He's a Republican. Republicans love war generally. He's the only Republican that I know of in the last 100 fucking years that never started a goddamn aggressive war.
Really? We're going to give him credit for that? Well, what did he do to the military-industrial complex? He gave him the biggest pay upgrade any president has ever given him. Plus, he dropped more bombs than Obama ever thought about dropping. Look at this. Last year that Obama was in, look, this is the bombings. These are the bombs dropped on Iraq and Syria, Afghanistan and Yemen. And so we've got the Bush years, then we've got the Obama years, and as far as dropping bombs, that's a lot, but it's not a lot compared to Donald Trump. But check it out. He really started ramping up the Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and Yemen bombings after he became president. Look at this. When Obama left office, his last year in office, Mr. Pulitzer Prize winner, Mr. Peace, dropped 30,000, almost 31,000 bombs on Iraq and Syria, 1,300 on Afghanistan, and 14,000 on Yemen. And when Trump takes office, he's like, hold my beer. 39,000, 4,300, 15,000, 8,700, 7,300, 9,700, and then gave the military industrial complex, gave the Pentagon that lost $2.3 trillion September 10th, 2001. They came out and said, well, it's the Pentagon bureaucracy. We can't trace 2.3 trillion. You're going to give the Pentagon more money? The Department of Offense, they used to call it the Department of War. Now it's called the Department of Defense. They should just go back to calling it what it is. They wipe away all the euphemisms. Didn't start a war, but boy, he sure did drop a lot of bombs for no wars. Unfrickin' believable. So help in the military-industrial complex, which Eisenhower warned us against, wants to ramp up the police state by giving them qualified immunity, red flag laws, bump stock bans, I like take the guns first, due process second, continuation of the drug war, civil asset forfeiture, all stuff that Kamala Harris would just totally sign her name to because she's as much of a puppet as Trump, as much of a Zio puppet as Trump.
What more could he possibly offer? It's the ultimate pitching point for Trump. Perfect? No. Great? No. Good, acceptable, and capable of doing the things that he needs to do, capable of being sane, capable of being coherent, etc., has friends around the world within sociopolitics. Yes, he fits the bill. Fucking hire the man. What more do you fucking want? That's about all.
Hire the Zionist. Hire Zionist A, but don't hire Zionist B because, unbelievable. I don't, it's truly incomprehensible to me. But that is the delusion, and that's why the name of my channel is The Disturbing Illusion, because a delusion has taken over the brains of leftists and rightists alike. They can't even see it. They're not just sipping on Kool-Aid. They're chugging it. It's intravenous at this point. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the thought police in the comments section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, The Disturbing Illusion. I'd really like you to look at this video that I did on Kamala Harris, bringing all the receipts, showing you exactly what kind of person she is. Appreciate you guys. The price of freedom is now and will always be eternal vigilance, and indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. Stop securing your own oppression and start today. I will see you guys in the next video.